ability.
Full of the Foxes. I tell you what, this evening.
Well, they have been the two last couple of years, and they've made a really Paul Nixon. It is a hybrid pitch. Might not be as helpful to Callum as the pitch was at New Road at Worcester, but even so, he sort of makes things happen with the ball. He exerts a little bit of pressure, and I wouldn't be surprised if he bowls the first over.
Colin Ackerman leading out Leicestershire Foxes here at Grace Road, their second home game of this T20 Blast campaign. They're still searching for their first win. They won the toss and they've decided to field. We'll keep you updated throughout the evening what happens in the Roses matchup at Headingley as Yorkshire take on Lancashire, and also that match between Sussex and Essex in the T20 Blast South group. But our main focus this evening is on this match in Ayleston. It's Leicestershire versus Derbyshire in the company of Richard Ray and Adam Whitty.
Thank you very much, Connor. Yes, welcome to Grace Road. Leaden skies above. It's a chilly summer day today as we enter the first day of June. And Leicestershire and Derbyshire looking for their first win of this campaign. Derbyshire haven't won at all this season. Both have lost their opening 3 matches in the T20 Blast. But Leicestershire will be boosted big time by the number 78 stood in front of us, the only man without a hat on, the only man who probably is freezing like nothing else today. He's back from 47-degree temperatures to what, about 10 here in the centre of Leicester. He's a very brave man though. He's still got his t-shirt on. So Callum Parkinson will start us off. Louis Rees and Hyder Ali the batters, and he bowls to Rees first up, and it's glanced down towards fine leg, and it's a wide. I thought it hit the pads there, or hit the hip of Rees, but it was given as a wide as it went down to Rishi Patel. So Parkinson bowls. This is a slower delivery. There's a bit of spin on that. It is a used pitch, but gets a little bit of spin on that. Does Callum Parkinson. Top wicket taker so far. 5 wickets. Best economy 2 as he tosses this one up, swept up before wicket appeal and out. It looked plumb from up here, and Parkinson wheels away once again. What a start. Rees head dips, and he shakes his head as he walks off the field, but it was a big appeal, an immediate appeal, and Leicestershire strike first and strike early. Rees gone for a duck. Derbyshire are 1 for 1.
Yeah, awful shot actually. Yes, you've got to be aggressive early on, but sweeping across the line in that way on a pitch that's already shown there's perhaps just something there. Well, it was a poor choice, poor decision obviously by Lewis Rees, and huge for Leicestershire. An early wicket, always helpful.
But now in comes, it's not Wayne Madsen, is it? I don't think. Who's going to come out? I was expecting it to be Madsen. He's played at number 3 in the previous games, but maybe because the wicket fell so early. It's Wood who has come out onto the field. Tom Wood as the number 3. And I'm just looking. This might be one of his first. This might be one of the first games of the season that he's had so far.
In this competition, certainly. They've already started to make changes, Derbyshire.
Yeah, this is his first appearance for the 29-year-old. So Parkinson then, what a start for Leicestershire. He comes in now, he's up to the wicket, he bowls, and this is an outside edge played down towards third man, where Patel is fielding to the right-handed Wood, but there's an overthrow there, which dribbles through to Lilly, and so they're able to scamper through for a single. That's where you've got to try and manage. There was no run there, but they're trying to manage sort of roughing up the ball, aren't they, to try and get it as soft as early as possible. So the 2 fielders in the power play in the opening 5 overs, when only 2 players can be out on the boundary. One at deep mid-wicket, that's Aaron Lilly, and then we've got a long on 2 down the ground opposite the hospitality tent. Floodlights on already, just after 6:30 on BBC Radio Leicester as Parkinson comes in. He bowls. It's defended by Hyder Ali this time, the Pakistan international. One of their overseas players, not making the impact you'd expect an overseas player to make. 12 runs in 3 innings so far.
Yes, it's not what you want.
He stands very tall, raised bad as Parkinson comes in and bowls a straight delivery, and it's glanced away on the leg side, splitting those two fielders out on the boundary. They're going to come through for two, nicely timed, because it was too far away from those two fielders on the boundary. And Aaron Lilly isn't happy about something. He's chuntering as he walks backwards towards the deep mid-wicket boundary.
Hyder Ali ran across at Harry Swindles and deflected the ball away from him. He'd made his ground anyway, but Aaron likes it chunted, doesn't he?
4 for 1 as Parkinson bowls driven. It's an ugly drive straight to cover where it'll be fielded and there will be no run. That's the end of the first over. What a start for Leicestershire under grey skies in a relatively sedate Grace Road so far. 4 for 1, 1 over gone. Hyder Ali on 2, Wood on 1.
Yeah, Leicestershire with their bright green kit blending into the outfield here, which is still nice and green. I was watching the players practicing their sort of high ball catching just beforehand, and the white ball into the dark grey cloud was almost impossible to pick up, so conditions are not easy out there, but hopefully for Naveen or Hack they will be helpful. Afghan going to bowl from the pavilion end. First over, first ball of the season for the Foxes.
Do you reckon he'll do something? He'll bowl one of his variations. I bet he will.
Just about every delivery he bowls is a variation, isn't he? He doesn't often just sort of look to hit the top of off stump with a standard quickish delivery. But we'll see what happens. Tom Lungley is the umpire standing, former Derbyshire player, of course. I think he has the best bowling figures for Derbyshire against Leicestershire in T20, 5 for something or other. Not very many. And he's standing at the pavilion end. Neil Mallander, the umpire, standing at the Bennett end. Naveen, with the men out at wide, third man and mid wicket, goes running in and bowls thick inside edge. It's going to run down to fine leg for 4. It ran between Wood and the stumps. There was that little bit. It was very full. He stayed in his crease. It did swing back in a little bit. In fact, probably just that fraction too much, really. Took the inside edge and between the stumps and the batsman. Fortune for Tom Wood, who moves on to 5.
It's good positive signs for Leicestershire so far, although it looks like that pitch and the conditions have a little bit of nibble in them.
Looks quite green, doesn't it? The real bit has been allowed to grow. In goes Naveen, edged! Oh, and that's going to be 4 more, just wide of the diving Swindles to his right. Went through about where first slip would have been standing, maybe 1.5 slips. It was close, and Swindles has his hands, his gauntleted hands on his head. Well, could have been a wicket with the first 2 balls that Naveen has bowled. He looks fairly philosophical as he walks back to his mark. He has in fact conceded 8 from his first 2 balls, but incredibly unlucky on both occasions. In he goes. Wood on 9. Naveen bowls to him, it swings in, he jams it back out down towards mid-on, should be close, but no, the throw from Will Davis was a little bit late, but he picked up very low. It bounced quite slowly towards Davis, in fact, who's actually one of the better fielders on the Leicestershire side. He dived and underarmed the ball at the stumps, rather shoveled the ball at the stumps, missed them, so Wood, after a little bit of hesitation, picks up his single. He moves into double figures on to 10, 13 for 1, brings Hyder down to face Naveen. He is an international, Hyder Ali, but it's just a couple, isn't it, that he's played ODIs
2
anyway.
ODIs, 2 T20s too.
He's still a young man, just 22. But yes, I'm sure he would have liked to have done better than his 12 runs in 3 innings with a best of 11, so presumably the other one was 1 and 0. The scores were 1 and 0. Bright green fluorescent boots he has on us. Naveen goes in, bowls 2, and he plays a pleasant on drive, checks the shot slightly. There is still that lovely little bit of swing Naveen gets with that full delivery back into the right-handers, runs out to Davis at mid-on, and there's no run. Ground beginning to fill up a little bit. I think they were hopeful that they'd get roughly a similar crowd to the first home game of the season, but the weather, as you said, isn't half as pleasant, and it's a Thursday evening. It was a good atmosphere in that first game against the Bears. they brought a few, in fairness. In goes Naveen and bowls again. It swings back in. Hyder jams it out off the back foot into the offside. Rishi Patel is the first of Leicestershire's fielders to get there. He takes his single, moves on to 3-14 for 1.
You can already see the difference, can't you? You can already see the variation, the difference. It's probably, to be fair, you know, they have played against the informed teams in the division, and so the batters will feel a little bit more comfortable in the other teams Leicestershire have played, but you can already see he's making the batsmen so much more uncomfortable than the previous 3 games for Leicestershire.
Absolutely, rolling a really good length. Naveen is in and bowls on off stump. Wood can only poke it out into the offside and then hold his bat up to hide it. So no run there. Naveen is tossed his sweater by Tom Longley. He'll consider himself, I suspect, fairly unfortunate. And he was fairly unfortunate. Could easily have dismissed Wood with each of those first 2 deliveries of the over as it is. After 2 overs, the Falcons are 14 for 1.
And arguably, as you say, they will feel the scoreboard tells a completely different story to how things have been going for them so far. Callum Parkinson will continue listening to live cricket on the BBC, on BBC Radio Leicester.
As Parkinson comes in, it's up to the wicket, he bowls, and this is hit hard, high up in the air, and that's 6. I can see Ackerman down there at long on, not even bothering with that. That is massive. Has that hit the roof? It's the television gantry.
It did hit the roof of the gantry. So
there is somebody up there filming for the stream who would have been taking cover rather drastically. That's one of the biggest 6s down the ground that I've seen here in quite a few years. Monstrous from Hyder Ali.
It wasn't a sort of particularly violent looking shot. It just sort of stroked it, but oh my goodness, it came out of the middle.
Still, it's only just started to drop by the time it got to the TV gantry. Parkinson, how he'll heave his on. He drops it. He drops it in. It's a full toss, and that's brilliantly stopped. Is that Mulder there at point,
fielding.
Diving to his right fantastically well. You just see the international quality of somebody like that. Driven hard from that low full toss. As Parkinson comes in, bowls, and Hyder Ali, I think, has seen enough of this and is trying to really start aggressively hitting out. Backs away and carves down the ground towards long on, where Will Davis is fielding. Parkinson, short, blonde hair, was the buzz cut. Moves in towards us now from the Bennett end. He bowls. It's a straight delivery, slower one as well. Just pulled back a little bit, and it's glanced towards deep mid wicket. And they will only go for 1 there. It's decent fielding from Lilly, who charges in, throws it in, whips it with his right hand, and it's 22 for 1. Leicestershire against Derbyshire in the T20 Blast. Both of these teams looking for their first win in the competition. At what will be for both of them the 4th time of asking. Parkinson bustles up now, bowls and bowled him! Ali goes for the sweep again and is caught out. This time it was quicker and flatter from Parkinson, and Ali slams his bat against his pad. Parkinson wheels away once again in celebration. The double fist bump, and Leicestershire have a 2nd wicket, as does Parkinson. It is 22 for 1, 22 for 2, I should say. Ali goes for 10.
Yep, the sweep again, proving the downfall of a Falcons batsman. Ali will be hugely disappointed about that, having middled that 6 in particular, and actually the following shot that Mulder did so well to field in the covers. But poor choice of shot again, haven't got his 6 in the over. This is what Paul Nixon was sort of talking about to a certain extent with some of Leicestershire's batting so far this season, just sometimes being content having got your runs in the over just to push one or work it around a little bit, and lost his head a little bit there. Big swing, and Parkinson picks up his 2nd wicket, and this is what we were saying to Connor about the importance of Parkinson to the side in this competition.
And the fact that already I think Naveen has already had an impact. He squeezed and put the other batters under pressure. They felt they needed to hit out at the other end. Parkinson comes in, tosses this one up. The new batter is Madsen, who I thought was going to come in at number 3, but he's coming in at number 4. He glances a single down to mid-wicket, and that is the end of another successful over for Leicestershire. 23 for 2. The pressure telling, and even though Derbyshire's run rate isn't that bad at all, really, they're going at 7.7 and over in this power play. They've lost 2 wickets under the pump.
But their main man, Richard, has come in. Madsen, who is the third top scorer in the competition so far, 168 runs in a losing team. 57 and 40, 57 or 46 in the last game in that defeat to Northampton. 3 50s in 3 games. He's the key man.
They've made an immediate change. They've taken Naveen off and brought Vian Mulder on. I must admit, with a new man, particularly Wayne Madsen, who's made so many runs against Leicestershire over the years, I might have given Naveen another over against him, to be quite honest. Let's see what Vian Mulder can do. From the pavilion, air bowls very straight. Madsen plays it firmly down into the ground, bounces back up to the South Africa international all-rounder, who tosses it to Naveen.
England finishing the day on 152 for 1 in the first day of their first test, or the only test against Ireland. Duckett 60 not out, Pope 29 not out.
Which is almost level pegging, isn't it?
20 behind.
20, is it? Mulder is in, bowled, slightly shorter, played with an angled bat off the back foot by Madsen. Runs it out to Rahan Ahmed, who's at backward point on the edge of the circle, obviously on the edge of the circle. Will Davis starting to windmill his arms. Nick Welsh is out in front of the yellow bucket seats in the popular stand, the Upton Steel stand alongside the meet. As Mulder is in, Madsen is driving most pleasantly for 4. Again, foot movement wasn't exaggerated, shall we say that? There was foot movement. He didn't sort of step out or step right back, but timed it beautifully. And he knows, he's played here so often, Wayne Madsen, that if you beat the infield early, especially down this side of the ground, then you are going to get 4 almost certainly. And all Ackerman could do was turn at mid-off and jog after the ball. Lovely shot from Wayne Madsen. Mulder is into his compatriot bowls, clipped off his hip down to the boundary for 4 more. Poor ball really from Vian Mulder. Welsh is at deep mid-wicket. He was a good 40-50 yards away. Parkinson is at short fine leg. There is a big gap behind square on that leg side, and Madsen exploited it very nicely indeed. 31 for 2. Couple of boundaries, consecutive boundaries for Madsen. 9 off 5 for him. Got to be a bit careful, Leicester. If they can pick up 1 more wicket in the power play, well, we know the stats. It'll make them the favourites as Madsen waits, gets a short ball lobbed up into the air off the top edge, but just wide of Parkinson by Madsen. Welsh can run round because it, as I say, was lobbed and then it bobbled gently out towards the electronic scoreboard. Parkinson not so very far from being able to dive to get his hands underneath that as it was. Madsen picks up a couple, moves on to 11, 33 for 2.
Madsen looks a man in form, doesn't he? That was a sublime cover drive and then a very simple dispatching of a poor ball, but he's come in and he's like he's faced 50 balls already.
Mulder is in, bowls to him. Fuller, but again waiting, to pushing it through the on side, slightly wide of Naveen, who picks up and shies at the stumps, nonetheless athletically misses them. And Madsen, who keeps the strike with that single, had made his ground anyway. 34 for 2 off 4, so 11 off Vian Mulder's first over. And unlike the first over of Naveen or Hack, they were sort of balls that probably deserved to go for 4, to be quite honest.
You're listening to Leicestershire against Derbyshire, T20 Blast Cricket on BBC Radio Leicester. We're going to be with you all evening tonight on FM 104.9, DAB frequencies, as well as the BBC Sport website and app, BBC Sounds, your smart speaker, as we bring you live T20 cricket. Derbyshire 34 for 2 at the end of the 4th over, and it'll be Will Davis to bowl his first over from the Bennett end, running in towards us now. He's got a bustling run up, elbows out, he's up to the wicket, he bowls a slower delivery first up, which is clipped away on the leg side by Madsen, who's already overtaken Wood. 13 from 8 his score. Leicestershire in their green stripy tops, dark green and light green, with light green trousers and a light green snapback, as I believe the kids call them these days. Davis. running in towards us now. He's past the umpire. He bowls a straight delivery, which again is clipped. This time off middle stump by Wood, down squarer towards the fielder out there. Is it Budinger who has fielded that? Yes, it is, and he launches that in right-handed. 36 for 2. Wood on to 12. Derbyshire in, is it black or navy blue? I think it's very dark navy blue. Derbyshire are in, is it?
Yes.
With some lighter blue trimmings. Davis bends down and then straightens up, and that's a wristy flick into the leg side. They're going to try and get 2 here, but they're testing the arm of Lilly, and that's very well fielded. They didn't want to test the arm, and they didn't want to take the risk, because Lilly had charged in from deep mid-wicket, as Madsen had sort of flicked that from the leg side to the off. It was a pretty ugly shot. Sorry, the offside to the leg, I should say. It's a pretty ugly shot. 37 for 2, though. Madsen on to 40. Now Wood will face. Davis has really struggled so far, really, either not being given many opportunities, but 3 overs for 41 against Worcestershire on Monday. As he comes in, he bowls on, it's edged and 4. Well, we've seen plenty of that already at the start of the innings. Wood sort of pulled